Good morning. Oh, come on, that was weak. Good morning. There we go. That's more like it. It's good to see you all back on this side of the pond. We're gonna have a little fun this morning. We're gonna share with you the experiences that we had and the lessons that we learned, and we're going to pack that into all less than an hour. So wish us luck because we learned a lot in 3 days. So anyways, before we get started, since we spent time with John Maxwell while we were there, I found it only fitting that we would go ahead and play a John Maxwell video this morning because Diane doesn't want to drop that apparently. So there we go. Whoa.
Welcome back.
Exactly.
Can we talk for a few moments today on legacy and how do you build one? Especially how do you build one that, wow, it's what you really wanted and what you could really be proud of. I'm glad you're with us on Minute with Maxwell. My name is John and I want to talk to you about that legacy. First thing that I think is important for you and I to understand is that we get to choose it. In fact, we not only get to choose it, but we get to choose it now. Now that's the mistake that most people make. They think that a legacy can't be chosen and they think that it can't be discovered to the very end of their journey. And then people look at you and say, oh, this is what they were. This is what they believed in. This is who they were. I don't believe that at all. I believe that you and I can choose our legacy today and then we can live it out for the rest of our life to make sure that it's a solid, clear legacy. For example, I can still remember 20 years ago sitting down with a group of leaders, and in that room we spent a day about leadership, and at the conclusion of that day, the one thing that came out of that meeting was that I wanted my legacy to be leadership. I wanted that to be my brand. I wanted that to be who I was. When people saw John Maxwell, I wanted to see leadership. And out of that meeting that day, we made a determination that that's who we were, that's how we would behave, and that's what I want my legacy to be. Now, 20 years later, that's what I'm known for. When you say John Maxwell, people think of leadership. Well, I want you to know that that was very intentional. There was nothing lucky about that. There was nothing that we just stumbled onto. It was just a fact that we determined that's what my legacy should be. And then you back up that decision and determination with your behavior. Now, in that meeting, if we'd have said it's going to be leadership, and then I would not have written any books on leadership, and I wouldn't teach on leadership, and I wouldn't have any companies on leadership, guess what? That wouldn't have been my legacy. So talking about it or determining it is not enough. You determine what you want your legacy to be, and then you act on it. And you bring resources in to bolster that. People, money, opportunities, everything that'll help you to make that legacy the one that you want. So don't let people come to your funeral guessing. You don't want to kind of go around and say, okay, who were they and what did they stand for and what did they believe in? No. You can determine that today. And I encourage you to do that. Because the greatest legacies that are built are not built in a moment. They're built in a lifetime. Start now. You've got your rest of your life to build it. John Maxwell here. Glad you're with me today on Minute with Maxwell.
So, what do you want your legacy to be? You know, if there was something I took away from the last week, it's that guy right there is extremely intentional. There's nothing that he does that doesn't have intentionality behind it. And when he talks about that, I think about, we do our business planning every single year. We do our growth planning every single year. Are we thinking about and being intentional with where do we want that to ultimately lead us? Scott and I, we had lunch the first day that we were in London after we were both exhausted from getting off of a plane, and we talked about writing your eulogy and then talking about how that's what you want people to say about you. And a lot of times people don't ever have that experience. They've never taken the time or had anybody challenge them to think, what do you want to be known for? So I wanted to share that with you this morning. And I also want to have two people come up here. First, Scott Stout and Tom Catlin. Would you guys both come up here real quick? You don't know what it's for. That's true. They're doing it anyways. That's all. I just wanted them to come up here. Give them a hand. So these two gentlemen, yes, we wanted to recognize you for your fashion this morning. No, these two gentlemen received an award last week, or last week on Monday, for the Best of Georgetown. So Tom, you got silver in the Best of Georgetown, so congratulations on that. Let's give it up to Tom. And Scott, you got gold here in the Best of Georgetown, so congratulations. And we, as a market center, 4 years in a row now, gold. So even better for us. So congratulations, y'all. Just want to make sure.
Three words, well, longer than that.
Yeah,
just
please.
Real quick, though. So this is the third time I've received an award. The first time I didn't know I was going to get one. And every time I've been there, Sheila Evans from Century 21 has gotten gold. And so she was, probably a little further away than the wall, and there were 400 or 500 people in the room. And I was talking to the people near me, and I said, "There's my nemesis, Sheila. I just want to beat her once." And so then they said, "Run, Sheila Evans." I was like, "Oh, man, I might get the gold." And then they said, "Silver, Tom." And then when they said Scott, this guy is so locked on that, yeah, good for you and good for me. It was great. But it was just funny that I got what I asked for.
What did you get last year, Tom?
Bronze. Silver the year before.
There you go.
So we're just going to, you're going down next year.
Anything you want to say, Scott?
Thank you all very much. Appreciate all the mentorship and leadership. I wholeheartedly believe in the models that we use, and thank Diane for all the mentorship. I'll just leave it at that. But thank you all very much.
You got it.
Appreciate it.
Perfect. All right, next we're going to go to our real estate meme of the day. Show homes to an unapproved buyer. Girl, please. All right, and then let's get to what we really wanted to talk about today. I'm going to ask you to come back up, Scott, and I want you to go first. John Maxwell taught us, that we talk about journaling a lot at Keller Williams, especially in bold. And many times people don't have the thought process to make that a priority every single day. So John Maxwell said, I don't journal anymore. I just take a picture of a moment in time, and I have a special folder in my phone, and I make sure that I keep those pictures and remember the lessons that I learned from each of those, and that's how I share it. So I encouraged Scott and Kristen and myself this morning to share what we took away from Exchange this year in the pictures that we chose to present to you this morning. So Scott, take it away.
Okay.
Yep.
So first of all, Scott he shares a lot of leadership lessons with us, and some agents may think, "Am I a leader? Like I'm an agent. I'm out there lead generating. I'm just hitting the streets and helping people buy homes." But I will tell you that people need leadership, and as agents, I mean, we really are leaders, and we're helping people, in my opinion, do two key things. Number one, solve whatever problem that they have, whether it's the need to sell their house or to find a home to move into, and whatever the complexity is going on in their life and the reason why they need to make that transaction happen. So it takes a lot of leadership to help navigate people through that process. So that's one. And then help them make those key decisions through that process as well. So solve the problem, make the decision. So I appreciate all the leadership that you not only give us, but also that you share with us and the examples you bring to us. So in this week, there were, Scott asked us to share a picture, and I appreciate the fact that you allowed me to bring 4 pictures. So there was just way too much to not. Do I just click it again?
Yeah.
It's going to pick it up? Okay. So what I would tell you here is, and this is something that John talked about, is surround yourself always surround yourself with people that are faster, bigger, stronger, smarter. You know, if you do that, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Okay, so surround yourself by people that are going to help you grow, that are going to help you continuously learn, that are going to help you advance and reaching that legacy that you want to achieve. So I had the opportunity, obviously, to spend a few days with John, but Tony Blair was one person that we got to meet, and that was.
By the way, we've photoshopped all these pictures. We didn't
Photoshopped
meet any
all
of
of
these
them.
people. I'm just kidding.
Tony was fantastic. He definitely exceeded my expectations. But to get to have that Q&A session with him and just hear his perspective on leadership and being a very collaborative leader, always bringing people from both sides of the aisle to his cabinet, and making sure that whether you're aligned with them or not, that you're getting their input. And sometimes he actually hired people that were from the other side of the aisle to make sure that he hired the best people. So I think, again, the takeaway here is to always surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up.
Can I share one other thing
Please.
that I took away from him? In the UK, their elections only last 4 weeks. I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
we
that's
should really,
awesome.
really push to do that here, because they can only campaign for 4 weeks and then they have the election. Here it's 4 years we campaign and then we have the election. So, anyway, that's
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, this next picture, you're like, okay, why are you showing that? You're just rubbing the fact that we were. So on the second day we were there,
Yeah.
I think this was in Brussels.
Yeah.
We were walking around what they call a walk plots area, or just a kind of an open air area. It was really cold outside, and we wanted a hot chocolate. All we were looking for was a good old-fashioned American hot chocolate, or in this case, a Belgian hot chocolate. So we went into this shop. We went to a few different shops, and they were closed. So we thought we were out of luck. We went into this one chocolate shop and asked for a hot chocolate. This is what we got. So there's hot chocolate under that, and then you've got chocolate whipped cream. Then you've got chocolate cookies. Then you've got these chocolate mint wafers added in there as well. And you're like, okay, you're really not only making us hungry, but why are you sharing this with us? What I see in this, guys, is differentiate yourself. Delight your customers. You can go and you can just help people through the process of buying or selling a house. If this is the standard, get after it. Go differentiate yourself and do those things that are going to set you apart from the pack. And you know, it's not hard to actually give people what they want, but always be looking to delight your clients. Really go that extra, and that's they say we actually couldn't finish these.
No, we could not finish them. They were about, yes, there was hot chocolate in the cup. They were about this tall, but we couldn't finish them because the chocolate was just so rich.
Yeah.
It was like drinking chocolate syrup.
Yeah. But still,
It was good though.
It was amazing. And you know, your clients don't know what to expect sometimes, and that doesn't really matter. Just shoot for the stars. So you may not recognize, that's actually Diana Kokoska in the picture. And the
Which
lesson.
one?
What's that? Yeah,
Someone said which one.
Yeah. You know, there's the takeaway on this photo for me is there's a lot for us to get real serious about in what we do. You know, and most of the pictures we see of these guys, they're all, you know, really very serious and in their outfit. And they were having a lot of fun. They were actually taking us from the Tower of London over to the London Bridge to have dinner. And so, they needed to move 100 people over there fairly expeditiously as possible, but they just had a really good time with us and included humor in the process. So the reminder here is to, while you're working hard, keep it fun. That's really what I wanted to share from that. And then this picture, and I didn't have one of all three of us, but I would have definitely included Kristen in that one.
Pretend the guy in the orange jacket's Kristen.
Yeah. This one really for me is, and this was something that John talked a lot about in the leadership lessons, and that is in transformational leadership, you can be a trained leader and take people and show people what to do, but a transformational leader, take them with you. And I want to say thank you to Scott for taking me over there. There were so many lessons in every corner, every time we turned around of things that we could take from this. I'll tell you
Before we talk about you being over there, why don't you share with them how you got there?
Oh yeah, okay. So how far back do you want me to, from the call when you first invited me to?
Well, I'll start with this. My wife was supposed to go with me. And our daughter, Savannah, is 5 years old, and she was getting really upset that Mommy and Daddy weren't going to be home for 10 days. And so Kendall and I talked about it, and she decided that, I think I'm going to go ahead and stay home with the kids and be so jealous the whole time you're gone. And I said, are you sure you want to do that? And she said, yeah, absolutely. And before I get to you, Scott, my first call was actually not you. It was my little brother, Brian.
Yeah.
And I said to him, do you want to go with me on a trip to London? And I have to say, I was so disappointed and so proud of the answer that you gave me, because he said, I would really love to go, and I just got my real estate license and I need to focus on my business. So
that's awesome.
I'm proud of you for that. And Dad would be proud of you too. Back to you.
All right. Anybody have a box of tissues by chance? Good stuff. Good stuff. So Scott called me and he said, if I had a chance for you to go to London with me, would you go? And I was like, is the Pope Catholic? Of course I'd go, right? And then he tried to transfer the ticket. It was non-transferable. So then he called me back and he said, looks like Kendall's going. I was like, that's just God saying you guys need to go to London together. And then
later that night I called you again.
Yeah, later I called him back because it was just going to be too much. Savannah was really,
yeah.
And I mean, so it makes sense. So he called me back and he said, will you still go? I'm like, absolutely. That's when I found out that my passport was outdated. Which I've never had that before. I've traveled a lot just in my days in the military. I always kept my passport up, so I've just been back a little. Haven't traveled much in a while. So did a beeline.
When did you find out this? How long a time was it between this and the
A week before we left.
Yeah, it was a week before we left. Right? So the next morning I'm in Dallas, getting my passport expedited. So that worked out. So a couple days before we left, I got my passport, and so we were good there. So got everything ready, kind of fast forward to the morning. They flew out of Austin, and I was flying out of Dallas. So, I get up there, I'm 2.5, 3 hours early, no problem. And, I've flown through Dallas a lot, and it's a big hub, but it's been maybe a decade since I was actually at the Dallas airport and finding my way around. So, it took a little while to actually get situated and get parked and get to where I needed to be. And I will tell you, I took more than I needed, but that's okay. I packed kind of heavy. Finally got there, got up to get my bag checked in. I'm like, yes, I'm going to unload this thing. I'm going to go relax. Still have plenty of time, maybe, 2 hours before takeoff. And I get up there. Well, first of all, I'm trying to check myself in. So it's not happening. Didn't work. Put my passport in there. It's not working. So I go up to the counter and the lady says, it looks like you're flying out of Love Field.
How many flights a day fly out of Love Field for Delta?
For Delta, there are, aside from Southwest, who flies out of there are only 6 flights a day that fly out of Love Field. I was on one of them. So she said, no, we could call your company and ask them if they could change it to Dallas-Fort Worth. I already knew that he was probably scrambling to go get on his plane. And I'm like, absolutely not. So I gathered my stuff and had to do all the reverse, catch the shuttle to get back over to my car, get back to my car. Thank God I didn't get a ticket on the way to Love Field. Because, by the way, I missed it. There's more to it. There's there was a branch, I was supposed to go this way. Nope, I go this way, so I go through the business district. You didn't hear all that.
No.
But I got checked in and everything worked out great. But it was an adventure just to get there.
Yeah.
But good times.
And then you were just going to hang out and enjoy London.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just going to hang out with them. And second day, we caught the train, went through the Channel. We go over to Brussels. And then the following day, we went up to Amsterdam. And then while we were in Amsterdam,
having lunch.
This was so that would have been 2 days before the event started, the John Maxwell event. And this, by the way, guys, this says a lot about Scott as a leader. I mean, it's one thing to just do what you're supposed to be doing, but this guy's wheels are always turning in creative ways of how can I do this different? How can I do it better? How can I go way above and beyond and make this experience for everyone that much better? And so he said, we were sitting down eating, and there was something came up on his phone. He said, I've got a proposition for you. Don't feel obligated in either way. But there's an opening if you'd like to get into the John Maxwell exchange training for this week, would you be interested? Okay, I can already tell you it wasn't just yeah, but a heck yeah, right? So that's how and by the way, so the next day was the mixer where we checked in. That it's the night before the actual event started, and so we scrambled back, jumped off the train, and ran down, and I rented a tux because there's more. I don't know how you're going to probably go into all that. We ended up having
we had dinner at Windsor Castle.
But that's that was the adventure of getting there. Now, are we pressed on time? Are we gonna?
No, you're good.
So I want to share one more thing real quick. One of the things, there were so many things to take away from this, because John Maxwell takes you there and he gives you an experience, and then he talks about leadership, whether it be Churchill and different things like that I'm sure Scott will get into. But one of the things that I took away from that is, no matter what situation you're in, you can take little bits and pieces of lessons to learn from and apply it to what we do. And I'm going to give you an example. The last day we were there, the guy the street artist, he was out there with a 12-foot ladder. And it was just him and a 12-foot ladder, and he had a microphone on and had speakers. And the guy he could have climbed that ladder in 3 seconds, it would have been over. But instead, it was an 18-minute video, and I'll spare you of all that. I'll just wrap it up here in a few minutes. So he's getting on this, he's creating all this excitement, right? He's communicating, he's adapting himself to the audience. So know your audience, right? He brings up a little girl to be his assistant, include the family, right? So he has to train her how to throw these little, the pins up that he's going to juggle with once he makes it to the top of the ladder. There's stress in every rung that he goes up on. There's more stress because this guy might fall. And he's talking the audience through that. He's communicating well throughout the whole thing and what is going to happen next. there were so many different things. He kept pulling people in. And so in my mind, I'm seeing lead generation, right? There were so many things in that. He even gets down to the very end of it, and he says, if you're only going to send your kids up with a 5 or 10 pound, hang on to your money. If you or
He was talking about the change.
He was talking about the change, right? But he said if you can spare 10 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever, that'd be fantastic. And yada. And immediately I'm thinking, this guy doesn't discount himself, right? So that was something that I think that John, there's a ton of lessons we got from it on leadership. But for me, now I kind of see things a little differently. I'm looking for how to relate in darn near every situation that I'm in to what we do, and it was a neat experience all around. I mean, this would take an entire day for us to share with you everything that we did, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I truly appreciate it. Sorry Kendall couldn't go. Oh.
Sure you are.
Offline, I'll tell you some really funny, they're not bad, but they're really, really funny. I should just tell it.
Go ahead.
So,
It was only Mo Anderson that you replaced at Exchange, so.
All right, so there was one more. So jet lag, right? So Scott he had a time adjusting, right? So he kept hitting his alarm. We roomed together.
Yeah.
Right. So he kept hitting his alarm. And one day, I see
where you're going.
One day I said, he finally wakes up, and I said, good morning, sir. I said, perhaps it's a good time to get up and shake the dew off your lily and bust some soap across your bum. That's just a snap.
To which I said, I was not expecting to wake up to that.
We stayed in 5 different, 5 or 6?
6.
6 different hotels while we were there, just from the moving around and different things we were doing. And the last one that we checked into, so there was only a king-size bed. That's not happening.
Yeah.
And then there was a couch, and the couch was not going to be very comfortable. And so the guy had to bring in a rollaway bed. And the guy brought in, I said, you know what? I said, after all these years, he still makes me get an extra bed.
Yeah. And I turned about as bright red as my shirt. So, thank you, Scott. Give it up for Scott. Kristen, take it away. Mic check.
1, 2. I guess I'll put it right there.
There you go.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
I was wondering if I'd have a little bit of an accent coming in. I don't. Although I might say, where's the new? Occasionally. All right. So I, too, struggled with picking just 2. So I actually do have 4 pictures as
There you
well.
go.
I'll keep it short and sweet and to the point, and I'm super excited. It was an amazing trip. I got to take my husband and my son, and while they didn't attend the exchange part of it, they got to experience the trip on their own, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit. But it was amazing, and my thought process, like Scott had mentioned, has completely changed about what I do, how I do it, and how I can be better.
And Kristen found out she was going the day before. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So anyways, okay, so my first picture, this is my husband Tim and I. I was super excited to be here. So this is after Tim and I and my son Ryan had climbed the almost 700 steps to the 2nd floor of the Eiffel Tower. Now, already that day, we had traversed 400 steps up the Arc de Triomphe. And
Did you know how many steps were on the Arc de Triomphe when you were going there?
No, it was actually free to get in, and I thought we were just going to walk through a gate and walk in the middle and be under this amazing piece of architecture. And come to find out, they're like, just go, just keep going. And all of a sudden, I'm walking upstairs, And I'm walking upstairs, and I'm pulling to the side, just keep passing me, please. About 200 stairs up, and yeah, so almost 400 stairs later, we get to the top. And I look at Tim and I say, we bought tickets to the Eiffel Tower, and we have to walk 600 more steps up later this afternoon. He's like, I'm out. I'm not doing it. That was a lot. And so it was really funny to do that. So we get up to up the Eiffel Tower, and someone had told us it's about 600 stairs. And you really start to count them as you go up once you can't breathe anymore. And you're like, well, how many more? And they actually have every 10 steps, they have it marked on the steps, which is good and bad, right? Because once I hit 600 and realized I wasn't done yet, that fear, frustration, and exhaustion hit right then. Because that was the finish line, right? 600 steps, I was going to be there and complete 1,000 for the day. No, it was actually just over 680, almost 700 steps by the time you got to the very top of where you could get to in the second part. So I was counting every single step after that. And I was laughing and crying at the same time for two reasons. One, yes, we were exhausted, and we almost didn't do it, again, because we had almost died earlier that day. And two, I have a severe fear of heights. And unlike the Arc de Triomphe, it's inside. So you're climbing steps, but you have no idea how high up you are. All you see is just this, and it's a spiral staircase, so you get a little dizzy, but you just have no idea, except for on the Eiffel Tower, however, you can see everything. The wind is blowing, it's kind of rainy, so there are metal steps and it's wet, so you're trying not to fall down the stairs. And every time those people who paid for the extra ticket to go with the elevator, every time the elevator goes by, the entire thing shakes. So oftentimes you catch me like this. I'm just like, just keep going, I'll be here in a minute. And I kept telling myself, okay, you just got to do it. My son's already like, come on, Mom, you can do it. And he's up at the top, and I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm only 200 steps in. It's pretty high up. And so we get to the top. Obviously, I have survived. A big storm blew in right when we were up at the top, right after we took these pictures. And we did get to take the elevator down, so I'm forever grateful for that.
Even though it was shaking the whole time? Just kidding.
Yeah. At that point, you're like, just get me down, just get me down. So no, it was absolutely beautiful. And if you look on Facebook, I posted a lot of videos. Sorry if I made you dizzy, but I just had to share it because it was truly amazing to see the sights we were able to see. So two things I took away from that. First, if you look behind me, there's this kid on a cell phone, right? Very apropos for today's age, right? He's sitting on a cell phone, and one of my thoughts was, look up, what are you missing around you? No, maybe he took the elevator right up. Maybe he didn't even want to be there. But for me, it was like literally the top of the world in a place that I've always wanted to visit. And so don't forget, occasionally we get so caught up in whatever our circumstances are, or our feelings or perspective of the moment, and we don't really get to take in what's around us. So that was the first thing, and I actually only noticed that this morning. I didn't see that earlier, so that was pretty cool. The other thing was something that John Maxwell spoke about. And he said, don't count the odds and don't count the cost. For if you do count the odds and or the cost, you'll do less than you're capable of. So remember that in your business when you're thinking of taking a risk. Should I make the jump? I've calculated the cost. I'm not sure if I can afford it. I'm not sure if I'll be able to complete it. I'm not sure I'll be able to climb 600 stairs, 700 stairs, right? And you just do it. You just jump in. You have to trust yourself and not count all of the other stuff that your brain might be a little, as we say in bold, your drunk monkey tells you don't do it. Just do it. Just get out there and put 100% in, and you'd be amazed. You might be able to smile as big as I did up there. So that was my first one. So my second one was when Tony Blair was speaking to us. I too have, and Scott as well has one of those amazing pictures with John Maxwell and Tony Blair, and they did great. Actual and cleaning some stuff up on that was like awesome Photoshop in that picture, at least for me. I loved it. Anyways, I didn't bring it today, but this one was one of my favorite photos. I was going through the hundreds and hundreds that I took, and just the pure joy in both of their faces and what they were doing. Part of this, and Scott spoke to this as well, but you should be having fun in everything that you do. These two men have done and see things in their life that I could only dream of. Tony Blair's made huge decisions, whether you support him or not, huge decisions that affect the future potentially of the UK. And the fact that he can get up here and talk very candidly and transparent about who he is and why he's done what he's done, and shared amazing leadership lessons that he's learned throughout his term as Prime Minister and even as a band member with long hair, we learned, right? It just was amazing to me. It reminded me that if you're not having fun in what you're doing, then why are you doing it? If you're not having fun, why are you doing it? What's your passion and your purpose? Why do you get up every morning? If you can't have this much fun on even your roughest day, and yeah, you have bad days, we all do, but if you can't wake up and have a good time, you should seriously contemplate what your why is and why you're doing it, because it's important that you're having a good time, right? So anyways, I thought that was
In all fairness, Tony Blair on average makes $616,000 for each speaking engagement that he does, so I'd be laughing like that too.
So, all right, so my next picture, it's kind of dark, I apologize. This is Big Ben, and so maybe if you've traveled to London, you've seen Big Ben when it wasn't under construction. And just short and sweet, it just reminded me that we're always under construction. Everything that we're doing, every day there's a part of us or something in our environment that's being worked on, whether by us or our environment and how it's affecting us. So it's just so beautiful. In fact, you can't see it in this picture, but the top of Big Ben just glistened. You could see it shining miles and miles away, even though it was under so much scaffolding. So I just want to remind everybody that no matter where you're at, even if you're having fun or not having fun, we are all, there's not one of us that's not under construction in some way, whether it's personally, professionally, and probably every day of my life spiritually, right? So I wanted to share that with you. And then my fourth picture, this is my son Ryan. A lot of you have met him. For those of you who haven't, he's awesome, and I'm biased, I know. So he is still amazed and is always sharing tidbits about what he's learned, and he has thanked us so much. He's a hugger, you know. He's just turned 15 on the 28th of October, and so this was really like a chance of a lifetime for him. For me, though, it was even more. I realized that this is my legacy. This is it. You know, I've always said, like, I want to impact lives, and I know that I do that in small ways as best as I can, but this is my legacy. This, and of course, my daughter, who wasn't able to go with us, but I've been getting a lot of hugs lately. So this is my legacy. And
She was just wondering why the presents were stopping when you came home,
yeah,
right?
that's right. She did get a present every day we were gone. They were small presents, but she did get something, so she had something to look forward to.
She was really disappointed when Kristen got home.
She did get one final present, and then it stopped. But it was the best one. She got a little snow globe that sings with the Eiffel Tower and has roses. Her name's Lily Rose. It was really pretty. So she held it, and she said, "This is the best present ever." So, not that I was home, but she liked it.
There you go.
So to tell you a little bit about my son, he's a pretty smart kid. He has Asperger's. It doesn't define him, though. He has some traits physically. You'll see him kind of tab or rock a lot, but he is so smart. And you would really not know. You might not notice those things about him, but mentally and intellectually he's very smart. In fact, we just got his
He's
Iowa.
hilarious.
He is. He's got his dad's wit.
Oh, yeah.
Thank goodness. Yes. And if you ever get into a spiritual or political conversation, he'll keep you on your toes because he loves facts. So he just passed, we just got his Iowa State exam results back, and he beat out, he's graded higher in math and in English than 99% of the country. So he's a pretty smart kid, and I'm lucky to have him as my kiddo. Other things that he's involved with, and there's a reason why I'm sharing these things, not just because I want to, gloat about my wonderful son, but he is involved in advocacy groups for LGBTQ community. He is also in the Model United Nations, which I don't know if you know what that is, but it models the United Nations currently, and they go debate on behalf of different countries, and they either get a side, they don't get to choose, they either get to debate on the side of the government or on the side of the people. Those are not always the same, as we understand here in this country. They're not always the same depending on where you're at, right?
No.
And so, no. And so we were walking down the street in Paris, and we see these flagpoles, and of course there's only one flag that was up. Don't ask me which one it was, I had no clue. But there was dozens of flagpoles, and I said, gosh, this looks like a place where there'd be a lot of flags from maybe different countries. And we didn't know what it was, we didn't see the sign. And here he is with his Model United Nations shirt on, just walking down, and it turns out to be UNESCO, which is United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. And so what they do there is they unite the world in building leadership through scientific, technology, and education. For a lot of people who don't know how to do it for themselves, and in third world countries where people don't really know how to become a leader or make change where they really want to. And so for me, it was an amazing connection to see him in the little bitty parts that he plays at 9th grade here in the US, how much bigger the picture is. So much bigger than I sometimes think that these kids, or even us as adults, really take into consideration how much that little bitty step or the little thing that you're doing actually makes waves. So some of the pictures talked about women who were being educated so they can become educators. Some of them were talking about how they've become educated and been empowered to make small changes in their community, how to start a business, or how to teach to keep themselves safe from transmitted diseases, things like that. So it's pretty amazing. Even though we couldn't go into the building, you can see some of the pictures behind the stories that were told just right there on the sidewalk. So for me, it was just a mental picture of that my son is just one little puzzle piece in billions of pieces that unite us as a human culture. Not a Texas culture or a US culture, but a human culture. And we all have these wants and needs and desires to impart and have significance. And so for me, it was the connection of that. So he's my legacy, and I just want to pour into him. And as I pour into him, he pours into others, and it just doesn't stop. There's literally no finish line. So pick someone in your life, a family member, friend, peer, someone you've never met, and pour into them, because the ripple effect that it causes is forever. It's forever. So, and then one more. I didn't do a picture. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay. So lastly, I had to write it down because I met amazing people at this conference. It's hard to describe the feeling of meeting people who are bigger, faster, smarter, and the humbleness that comes with a lot of that. One of the people that I met, his name was Linus Okori. You met Linus, right? So Linus, let me grab my phone real quick. I want to just give you a little bit about who he is so you can have kind of a mental picture, because he's super amazing and I'm super excited, and I hope you all get a chance to meet him someday. So he is a Nigerian leadership consultant, author and president and founder of the Guardians of the Nation International. That's a nonprofit leadership development organization based in Federal Capital Territory, Nigeria. He's a conference speaker, a regular guest in many print, media, radio, and television platforms across Nigeria. He's a radio and TV host of the Leadership Clinic, and he's an alumnus of the International Visitors Leadership Program. He's amazing. And you don't know this when you shake someone's hand and they say, "How are you?" You just get to start having a conversation. He ran for governor last year and he didn't win. And some of the questions he asked Tony Blair were, what do I do when I'm in conflict and I want to win, not because I want to win, but because I want to ensue change? Which little does he know he's doing that every single day by the little steps he's taking, right? But he wanted to ensue change. How does he do that when he doesn't align with the major political parties' beliefs or ethics or religion. They have Christian and Muslim there. And so, sometimes if you're not one or the other, it's not a fit for you. And so he said, how do I make change when I can't get to the front, right? What do I do? How do I get elected? And of course, Tony says, the unfortunate part of politics is sometimes you have to find a way to align yourself with part of it so you can get, have a seat at the table and then start to make change. When I was leaving, he came up and he gave me the biggest hug, and he let out this awesome little laugh giggle. He's the happiest person I've ever seen. And he said, you have to come visit me sometime. And I said, I'm going to. Absolutely, I want to see what you're doing. But this person, just one of the many that I met, made a huge impact on me. Because some days you feel like, and I'm sure you do in your own roles, where am I making change? Am I helping my clients? Am I connecting the dots for someone? And the reality is every single day, if you're making steps in the right direction, you're doing the right thing, right? And the other part is, he's moved from failure to failure to failure. John Maxwell spoke about this and how Winston Churchill moved from failure to failure to failure and still had some successes. And, that's a big part of who we are, in sales or in coaching that you do with your clients. Part of it is when you are working for something so great and you just sometimes feel like you can't win, you want to throw in the towel, and you can't. You can't. You just got to move through the failure to get through success no matter how many times it takes. It's not about you. It's about the bigger picture. And I think that was my biggest takeaway. So thank you
Awesome.
for letting me share.
Thank you. I've got one on.
I'll turn it on.
I don't know about y'all, but I'm proud of both of these two people and the lessons that they shared with us this morning. So now it's my turn, and it's going to be hard to follow that because y'all did such a good job. So the first picture that I want to share with you is this one right here. This will probably be my favorite picture of leadership for the rest of my life. That chair sitting back there is the chair that Winston Churchill sat in the war room, making the major decisions that were ultimately going to affect all of the United Kingdom, all of Europe, in defending what he believed was right. Even when the people he chose to surround himself with, keep this in mind, Winston Churchill, he was that person who said, I don't care what party they're from, I don't care what their beliefs is, I just want the best of the best in this room. Because if we're going to get through this, we have to do it as a united front. And so he was willing to make those tough decisions and stand up for them when people didn't believe in him. Winston Churchill was brought in as the prime minister in 1938. People didn't start believing in him until 1940. That's when everyone really got behind him. That's when the King of England at that point in time got behind him and gave him the support, because they realized finally that we really need to do something about this. We need to be a united front. So if you ever have a chance to go and read some of the history on Churchill, read it. If you want to watch a really good movie that is not accurate whatsoever, I found out after I watched it on the train on the way from Amsterdam back to Great Britain, The Darkest Hour. Great movie, not accurate at all, which kind of made me a little disappointed, I'm not going to lie, because it was such a good movie. So Winston Churchill affected change, and we as the United States of America probably wouldn't be exactly the same as we are today had Winston Churchill not stood up and taken a stand. Because at that point in time, he didn't choose to stand up and take a stand, and he was willing to go and negotiate with Adolf Hitler, which is what the majority of the people in that room right there with him wanted him to do. Europe would look completely different than it does today. Completely different than it does today. France was on the verge of completely falling. And it was because of the fact that Churchill had a vision and a belief to stand up and make sure that that didn't happen. and reach out to us. I mean, they have a very, very high, they have a very, very high and profound view of who we are as a country because of the fact that we were willing to step in and help them out, because they feel that they wouldn't be themselves today without us. As a matter of fact, the other night when it was our last night there before we were going back to the room to pack, they don't have Veterans Day in the UK. They have what they call Remembrance Day, and it's on November 10th, which was Sunday. And while Scott and I were sitting there talking, I was listening to the music that was being played on the TV next to us of their huge Remembrance Day ceremony. And the songs that they played at their Remembrance Day ceremony to start the entire thing off were the salute to the armed forces, the national anthem for the United States of America, all of the different songs for the different branches of our military service, because they realized that they could not have done this without us. They wouldn't be who they are without who we are and without the leaders that we had at that point in time in our country. And then yesterday morning, or I say yesterday morning because it feels like yesterday morning, Sunday morning when I was in the airport at 11 a.m., the entire place went silent because they did 2 minutes of silence to remember the people who gave their lives to support their country. And this is one of the places where, at the risk of sounding unpatriotic, I'm going to say that they really have their stuff together and are extremely patriotic. I don't see our airports standing for 2 minutes of silence on Veterans Day. I was flabbergasted at the fact that my kids even had to go to school on Veterans Day yesterday and not still set that day aside. So anyways, getting back to this picture, Winston Churchill affected change for the entire world. John Maxwell is working on changing the entire world as well. And what a lot of people don't realize is that while leadership is what he's known for, it's really transformational leadership that he's known for. And his passion now is going out and teaching different countries, including the United States of America, values. And so he's doing that right now in Portugal. They're doing that right now in Costa Rica. They're doing that right now in Guatemala. And they've got presidents of these countries who are on their side bringing in curriculum that is all about teaching the students what values are, because they've realized that they've gotten so far away from that. And would you agree that here in the United States of America, we've also gotten away from teaching values in our classrooms? Absolutely. Now, the challenge was, John Maxwell, before he was a leadership expert in business and in so many different areas, he was a preacher. So the curriculum that he created, he's going to tell you it's all biblically based, and he couldn't put any scripture into it because he wanted it to be able to be in the classroom. So that's what they've done, is they've created these values and the lessons behind them so that they can go out and put these things in classrooms throughout the entire world. And if you would like to go with me May 18th through 20th of this year, I'm going to go to Costa Rica with them and be a part of some of this transformation that they're doing in Costa Rica. All you have to do is pay for your plane ticket, your food, and your hotel, and you can come and join us for that trip. And you're going to see change happening. They're also working on it in Waxahachie right now. Avis always tells me that I say that word wrong. If I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry. Is it Waxahachie? All right.
We also say Elgin.
Yeah, Elgin, whatever. Waxahachie. So anyways, they're doing that right now up there in that part of our state, and and working on it that way. And it's so encouraging to see that someone's so passionate about that next generation and not just their own. And then for me, I really started my true leadership journey in 2015 when I became the team leader of this office. I wasn't looking for the opportunity. It was something that I didn't even have on my plans. And when Avis came to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in being a team leader of a market center?" I said, I don't know. And she asked me the question, "Why did you get into real estate?" And I said, "To help people." And then she said, what will stick with me forever is, now's your opportunity to help the people who are helping the people. And it all clicked. And the day that, my first day when I started here on June 22nd, 2015, she gave me a book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by Dr. John Maxwell. And the lessons that I've learned in that book have been incredible. And I go to these things every single year to meet amazing people, to bring them back here and share the stories and the things that I've learned from them. I need you to mark this on your calendars. On January 9th, we have our Great by Choice event. Last year we did it at the movie theater here in Georgetown. This year we're doing it at the church across the street because we can fit more people. And I believe we're going to need to fit more people. Keep in mind, this is open for you to bring as many people as you want to, whether they're in real estate or whether they're a business owner in our community, because we get to help them affect their lives and their businesses. We've got Don Yeager, who's going to be joining us. Don Yeager is the former editor for Sports Illustrated. He worked for Sports Illustrated for over 20 years, has written over 32 different books about athletes. His most recent book is You Are Worth It by the gentleman who, Kyle Carpenter, who was a United States soldier, and he jumped on top of a grenade to prevent his buddies around him from dying. Well, it was a miracle. He survived as well, and he wrote this book with John Maxwell, or not John Maxwell, with Don Yeager. And so Don's going to be coming and talking about that and just about several other things to us that day. And then some of you may have heard of this next lady, Kristen Cole. She's going to be coming and joining us that day as well. She has an incredible story. She is the head of expansion for Keller Williams International, and she has the largest expansion team in our country. And her story is that she was homeless and has been able to build this incredible empire and help others. And I learned sitting at the table on the last morning of exchange is when her and I got to have a conversation, and she shared about all the different philanthropic organizations that she's a part of, and they're doing some incredible things. So she's willing to come here and speak to us that day. So I want to make sure that you know about that. And then the final picture that I want to share with you is this one right here. So Scott, myself, Kristen, and the lady on the far right is my coach. So when I started here at Keller Williams, I got a coach. And Stacy's coached me on leadership. Her and I have had some amazing experiences, and there have been times where her belief in me was my belief in me, because she saw things at certain times that I didn't see, and she transferred her belief in me into me, and it became what I then believed about myself because I could do it. Well, this right here is us having dinner on the last night of the event, and we were having dinner on the top of the, is it called the Tower Bridge or the London Bridge? Either way, it's the Tower Bridge. So we're having dinner right over the top of the Thames River. If you're going to pronounce it right over there, it's the Thames. And we're sitting there, they're playing some amazing music. These violinists, I don't know how they were doing it. They were just so amazing at what they were doing. And we're having dinner. It's myself, Kristen, Scott, Stacy, and then two people from the South Florida region of Keller Williams. And as we're sitting there, what do you think our conversation was about? Our conversation was about y'all, and how we were so excited to come back and pour the things that we've learned over there into you to help you become the people that you want to become, to have the life that you want to have the legacy that you want to have. And that meant the world to me, that I was surrounded by people who didn't just care about the experience that they were having and could not wait to come back and share the experience with other people, that their lives could be transformed as well. So the lesson there for me was always make sure that you have people around you that don't just care about themselves and have the lives of other people in mind. And this is just the scratching of the surface of the things that we've learned, and we'll share a lot of other stuff with you in the future. yet I hope you've been able to take something away from our brief explanation of the experiences that we had while we were there last week. And because we're out of time for our team meeting, I didn't think it was going to take this long, but hey, was this okay?
Yeah.
Did you take something away today? Good. All right. So with that being said, does anyone have any questions? Yeah, Scott?
Comment on the previous picture.
Yeah.
So that's also to be a great graphical representation of great leaders will often take a back stance to help support and guide the leaders in front of them. You have Winston Churchill, you've got several different generations, you've got Maxwell, you've got you. This is a great picture.
Yeah.
My question is, who are you behind? Don't answer that.
I'm right here behind y'all.
Right.
I get to be the person standing behind you so that you guys can be your own business owners. And I'm grateful every single day that you've given me the opportunity to pour into you. So, all right, with that being said, are you our sponsor for today?
I am.
Come on in.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Yeah, those are great stories.
Thank you.
I'm
Tell us about yourself.
I am Debbie Beausoleil, and I'm with America's Preferred Home Warranty. And I'm going to pass out some warranties really quick, you guys. Here, let's do this. And there's some outside. We have food. That's not enough. I have more. There's more out there. But, so thanks for letting me share. America's Preferred Home Warranty. We have been in business 20 years. We've recently rolled into Texas. So we started in Dallas. We have 6 reps. I was the last one to get hired. I came from 40 years.
They saved the best for last.
That's right.
There you
40
go.
years in the mortgage business. And so now I'm doing warranties. So the one thing that we do that makes us a really good solution for your clients, okay, is we allow the homeowner to choose their own licensed contractor for all covered repairs, okay? We do not vet contractors or manage contractors. So potentially your homeowner or client is in control of the experience, the response time, who's coming into their house, and that can make a really big difference on that whole experience of the warranty company. And you guys usually are the ones that have referred or recommended warranty companies. So we feel we're a really good solution for that. If you turn in the back of the booklet, does anybody have a question about contractor choice? We don't have a lot of time, so I would love to sit down, individually, if you ever wanted to, on coffee and talk more about that. It's a really simple process, and that's how we've always done it.
I've got a question on that. How does that impact what they pay?
Okay, very good question. And so we're going to turn, in the back of the book is the pricing. So we do not have a service charge like most warranty companies call it a service charge, because we're not negotiating with contract. We don't tell them what to charge for a service charge, how to repair it, or what components to put into, like the AC, for instance. So ours is really simple. We have 2 plans. It's a $50 deductible at $499 or a $100 deductible at $465. So you see at closing it's a difference of $34, but the deductible is a difference of $50. So I always say keep it simple. You guys usually are writing enough in the contracts. $50 at $499, that's the best deal for your client, right? These are the items that come in there, the 25 items under the standard buyer coverage that includes well and septic. So to answer your question, if there were a claim, they're going to call, get a claim number from us. They're going to say, oh, my hot water heater's not, I noticed my water heater's not heating up, or, AC's not cooling. Of course, when it's 105, we know how that feels, right? So we're going to give them a claim number, advise them to call their local AC guy in that particular case. They could, if Uncle Joe's AC, they could potentially have them out same day instead of that 36-hour, potentially longer window of scheduling just to get the contractor out there, right? They could have their guy out there, like I have it on my house. I would have my Steve Honeycutt out there to look at my AC. They're going to call us. The contractor needs to call back with the claim number and tell us what the problem is, okay? So we can bump it up with the coverage and what we're going to pay. And let's just say on the AC, let's say it's a $1,000 repair. We're going to cover $1,000. We're going to pay $950 to the contractor or to the homeowner, We can pay the contractor, by the way, over the phone by credit card, and it works like a champ, okay? And your client can be said and done all same day, okay? That is a really big deal. But anyway, so we would pay the $950 less the $50 deductible. The homeowner would pay the $50, okay? It's really that simple with us. And did that answer that question on the one of the things that on the buyer standard coverage, that includes well and septic, refrigerator, roof repair, really leaks. That typically is an upgrade with other warranty companies. The buyer preferred upgrade in the middle, I highly suggested. It's $140. That would put your total at $639 on contract. But that's where the Freon recovery is. That's where the sediment buildup is. And that's the bells and whistles on the appliances like ice maker, racks, and baskets. And then, of course, we have all the standard cover options, pool, spa, and all that good stuff down here. We're really easy to work with. We do a lot of business with Keller Williams around the country. And we had folks there earlier. We do a lot in the year when there was a conference here. And then we do a lot of Red Day stuff with you guys. We just didn't see me because I wasn't here yet. And
There you go.
was repping us. So I have that. We have a new construction warranty. Those are out there. I have all of this out there. Two things that especially agents who are doing a lot of listings, this could help you pick up 2, 3 more listings. That would make a big difference to your bottom line, right? If you're doing listing coverage, which I highly suggest, it's a risk management tool. Warranty is a risk management tool, right? Starting with the seller, it could be, and then it flows over to the buyer coverage at closing. But List Secure, this gives your seller $1,000 worth of towards legal fees in case anything arose 2 years post-sale, okay? So we're thinking about that property and the seller for 2 years post-sale if you put listing coverage on. It's free. It just comes with the seller coverage, okay? And then Client Secure, this is E&O coverage. It's a big deal for the brokers and the agents because we'll pay up to 75% of your E&O deductible to $3,750 should you have a legal issue. These things for 1 year post-sale. That's for offering our warranty, okay? If you offered our warranty and for any reason they opted out, we would still offer that to you guys if you had a little something that shows from the back of our warranty booklet that you offered it to them. I know that's a little much information for this short period of time, but we feel we're a really good solution for you guys. And we do have an online system for ordering. You can always call me. What do I do? My number's out there on my card, and I answer. That's just my work number, so I answer all the time. And I would say that's the fourth difference is you have me, okay? Because coming from the mortgage business, I know how important it is to service you guys. That's it. And I love those stories. And one of my good friends, who's a Keller Williams agent, and Robert Evans, I guess he's down in Austin. I don't think he works out of the Georgetown office, but he always said, you know, our past doesn't define our destiny, and I always love that. So
Good.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Let's give it up for her.
Down here.
All right, y'all have a wonderful day. Enjoy lunch, stay warm, and be safe out there. See you later.